Chef Tobin here with the Chef Presents series by Elite Cuisine. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an American style mozzarella. The ingredients that we use to make American style mozzarella are milk, citric acid, rennet, and a lot of patience. Today's milk that we're going to be using is an organic milk, which is not homogenized and it is pasteurized. All North American milk is pasteurized. Do not use an ultra pasteurized milk. But this is also not homogenized, which means that the fat hasn't been forced into it, so it starts to separate. This is the kind we want. If you cannot find this kind, any brand name milk will do. Try not to use any store brands, since I have never had any luck with those. So we'll start out by pouring the milk in here and turning on the heat. Before our milk heats up, we want to add the citric acid. We'll use a bottled water today because sometimes water from the tap has chlorine in it and it can mix up with the chemistry in the milk, so we'll just avoid that. Then we'll add a teaspoon of citric acid. Other acids can be used, such as lemon juice and vinegar, but I tend to like this because this is strictly citric acid, so you'll get a nice curd. Once that is mixed, we'll add it to the milk and we'll bring it up to 90 degrees. Now what the citric acid does, it starts to delaminate the proteins in the milk, and so it makes them kind of relax and they're able to fold into each other, and this will make the cheese nice and creamy. We're now approaching 90 degrees. 88 to 90 degrees is where we want to be, and this is the point that we can add our rennet. Rennet is just an enzyme that helps the cheese coagulate and come into curds and form a lot better. There are several types of rennet available. You can find this in any grocery store. This is a powdered rennet. I don't recommend this because it tends to be a weak solution, but if you are going to use it and this is your only option, I would use probably 4 times the recommended amounts. Most traditional rennets are liquid rennets, which you can find online. They're about $4 for an ounce. So we'll put a teaspoon into water here. If you are a vegetarian, they do also make vegetable rennets, so you don't have to use an animal-based product. We'll put that in there and we'll count to 25 and we'll stir that. Don't stir too vigorously. Remember, we got curds in there now, so you don't want to break them up. We just want to make sure that the rennet gets mixed in there. There we go. Now we'll put a lid on this and we'll set it aside and let it sit for 30 minutes. Now our mixture is set for 30 minutes. Let's check it to see if it's done. As you can see, the curd has started forming here, and we'll put our finger in to test it. Put your finger in about down an inch, and as you pull it away, you can see nothing sticks to it. That means your curd is ready. This is called a clean break. It's ready to go. So we'll take up and we'll cut the curds into bigger squares around an inch by an inch. And after we do that, we'll start to heat up the mixture again. And this will separate the curds even more from the whey. And it will be easier to handle. We'll now take this up to 105 degrees. We've now reached 105 degrees and the curd has started to separate from the whey even more. You don't want to touch the curds at all up until this process. And you want to kind of finally fold them in on themselves. They're nice and warm. Remember, we denatured that protein, so now they're folding in upon themselves. After we've done that a couple times, we'll separate the curds from the whey. We've now separated the curds from the whey, and we'll continue to squeeze out the excess whey from the curds using this cheesecloth. Now you can throw this whey away, but I suggest keeping on to this whey. You can use it in your smoothies, you can add it to sauces, you can add it to soups. It adds extra flavor, extra nutrition. Today I'm going to be saving this, and I'm going to be making my mozzarella with it. Now that we've got the curds strained, we'll just place them here in a container, and we'll allow them to drain a little bit, get some of that other excess whey off before we start working with the curds. And we'll use this whey to make our cheese. So we'll throw it back in there, and we'll bring this up to temp again. Now we want to bring it up to around 190 degrees. You want it just under boiling. If it's boiling, it'll be too hot for the cheese, so you just want about simmering temperature. Our whey has come up to temperature now, and we have our curds here. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of salt on them and season them. Now I'll just ladle the whey onto the curds and let the heat do the work. What this does is kind of melts the cheese in together. I like doing it this way because it's kind of a throwback to the old country. They used to go down to the docks and they'd pull out salt water from the ocean, and they would use that to make their mozzarella cheese. Now before I go sticking my hands in here and making that cheese, I've got 3 different kinds of gloves on. This method can be also used in the microwave by microwaving it 30 seconds, but be careful because it will be hot. So you can see as we pick it up, those curds are starting to melt. So we'll slowly keep them in that hot water and push them together, slowly fold them over. Depending how many curds you have, depends on how many baths you'll do. Usually it takes me about 2 baths. See, slowly keep pulling that, and you see it starting to form. Let's let that cook a little bit longer. Okay, we're coming out of our second water bath now. And as you can see, the cheese is nice and stretchy. Now we're getting the nice creaminess and the texture that we want. So we'll go ahead and we'll start forming this. You can form it to any shape you want. Most popular are logs and balls. So we'll go ahead and make a ball. Just kind of fold it up on itself. Kind of pinch the bottom like that. And then dunk it in ice water to set it. And we'll let it sit for about 10 minutes to cool down completely, and then we'll use it. Now that our cheese has had a chance to set, you can see we've sliced it up, and we can now make a nice Caprese salad with it. So we'll just take heirloom tomatoes here, and we'll shingle it with the mozzarella. Now I recommend heirloom tomatoes. You can find these at the farmer's market right when they're in season. If you've never had an heirloom tomato, I highly suggest it. So we'll go ahead and put that on there. A little salt and pepper. A little basil for you. Then we'll top it off with some reduced balsamic vinegar. There you go. There's a beautiful Caprese salad. Now remember this technique so you can make your cheese at home. You can impress all your friends when they come over. They don't have to go to a fancy restaurant to do tableside mozzarella service anymore. They can get it in your kitchen. That's it for Elite Cuisine Presents the Chef series. I'm Tobin. See you next time.